Hello, so today I'm back in Patsy's enclosure. You can see her there and Jen there because I'm still supervising Patsy to make sure that to see if there's any gaps in her enclosure that she might be able to escape from. You can see in the background we've planted some herbs. We've got some we've got mint and rosemary and things like that to help keep rodents away. And I'm just going to talk to you today about a point that another lovely commenter brought up. Sorry, can't speak today. And this person, Mark, actually mentioned a few points, all of them equally silly, but they do kind of bring up some good points for us to talk about. And the first one is this. I'll read you this part of the comment. It says, Purdue Farms here, and that's in the USA, has hundreds of poultry houses that hold 10,000 birds each. You would need millions of dollars to rescue all the chickens in the world. So what Mark's getting at there is that there's no point in rescuing some individuals because there's no way that we could tackle the huge farms. And even though Mark is not coming at this in a very pleasant way, if you read the rest of his comment, the point does stand up to be at least thought about. And so what I want to talk about today is, what's the point? What's the point in rescuing one hen, like Jen, when many other animals, many other hens are neglected all over Australia and the world? It's certainly even more relevant for the girls that we've rescued from factory farms who are outside of this enclosure. So for those girls, when we go into a farm, Mark says there may be 10,000 hens each. I would say that he's right that each shed might be about 10,000, but each farm, yeah, they would be about 200,000, 250,000 for a larger egg shed, a larger egg farm. The small ones might have around 2,000 to 5,000 hens. So it's a huge, massive, overwhelming problem. And when I've stood in those sheds, if I allow myself to think about it, I would become totally overwhelmed and probably just explode out of complete disbelief that the world is so cruel. And in that case, I wouldn't be helping anyone. So what I need to do, and what I think is valuable to do, is to concentrate on the individuals that we can save. And we have it on our website, we have it all over the place, but the reason we go with this motto is because it does make sense and it sums up our work. Saving one animal may not change the world, but it will change the world for that one animal. And it is so true. Every animal that we've lifted from a cage, every animal that we've promised, you will be safe now, you will be protected now, their whole world has changed. They've gone from a place where there's a barren cage where their feet are aching day in, day out from standing on wire, where they can't stretch their wings at all, they can't take more than one step in any direction, and even then they bump into someone else. They can't do anything. And they've come into a world where they can feel the dirt under their feet, where they can have a dust bath, where they can flap the wings and feel the air under their wings, where they can run from one end of the garden to the other, where they can get away from the hens they don't like and make friends with the hens they do like. There's so much worth and value to rescuing one individual. There's a lovely helicopter above. I say this to all of my rescue team. The rescue is worthwhile if we even rescue one hen or one animal. If we'd gone to the car park at the weekend where I was trying to rescue a stray chicken and we'd rescued one chicken, that would have been totally worth it, because for that animal the world is entirely changed. And you have to put yourself in the animal's shoes. If there was an awful situation where there were hundreds of thousands of people being treated as the hens are, does that mean that 20 of them shouldn't be saved if possible? Does it mean that over a year 1,000 of them shouldn't be saved? We need to do what we can. And Mark's right that certainly we don't have millions of dollars. I think he's actually underestimated. I believe you'd need much more. I think you need multi-millions, you need billions of dollars to save all of the chickens in the world. There are so many who are being neglected and abused and used and exploited and tortured and killed, that I don't think that takes away from the work we're doing to save the individuals. The other thing that is important is the education side. If nobody found out about a chicken that was rescued from a meat farm, and that chicken had a year of love and happy life before they passed away, I think that's still worth it. But to try and help more animals that are still stuck in those hideous places of torture, we can share their stories. That's why I force myself to go on social media, even though I hate it. It's why I force myself to put up with comments like those from Mark, because we have to reach other people that are not already thinking like us. So when we share the story of someone like Ariel, for example, who I spoke to you about in another video, she becomes an ambassador for all the other hens that are still in that horrific situation in the battery cages. When I share the stories of a chicken like Bonnie, who fell off a slaughter truck. She was on her way to be slaughtered. She was found on the side of the motorway, and she had torn all the skin off her side from the fall, but she was alive, and we gave her the treatment she needed. When we share her story, we're telling of the brutal treatment that these chickens go through every day and every night. We're showing how 6-week-old babies with blue eyes and still peeping are being tortured and killed. And that is a form of education. Not only that, but in the Hen Haven, if we are successful in establishing that, we'll be able to up our education outreach even more by reaching schools, by reaching universities, and getting that message out there. Chickens are not disposable. Animals deserve our respect and our compassion. And caring for animals does not take away from caring for other issues. So, as much as I wish we could do everything we can to save as many animals as possible, I know that saving one life is totally worth it. So the next part of Mark's lovely comment is, he mentioned, as if we remind ourselves, where he said we'd need millions of dollars to rescue all the chickens in the world. He goes on to say, the sad thing is the chicken would not know the difference. Their brain is smaller than a pea, and their memory lasts only 3 seconds. So before we totally debunk that nonsense, I want to bring up the point, since when is it okay to exploit, torture and kill someone because they're not as intelligent as you, or you don't think they're intelligent enough? Because as far as I'm concerned, if somebody needs extra help, let's say, because of lack of intelligence, or they live life differently to we do, is even more reason to be more compassionate to them, because it makes them more vulnerable. We also can't measure intelligence by human standards, because having things that suit us as far as intelligence would be no benefit to a chicken. Just like if we had the ability to communicate with chicks inside their egg like a mother hen can, it wouldn't be much use to us. If we had, the knowledge of different calls for different predators, it wouldn't necessarily be any use to us. Chickens, however, are not stupid. So whilst I don't think that if they were, that would be a reason to exploit them, I think that's even more of a reason to protect them. This is nonsense about them only having a 3-second memory. I imagine that most people know that. That old myth about goldfish was proven to be incorrect. Fish have a very long memory. Chickens, however, have a very long memory. They can recognize 100 faces, human and chicken and other animal, and even after not seeing them for 6 months, they can recognize those people again, humans or chickens. They can solve complex problems. They can learn different tricks, which I'm not very interested in teaching them, but they can. And they also just have everything they need to live a happy and fulfilling life. There's all kinds, if you want to look into it, you can, and you can just Google about chicken intelligence and you'll find this completely debunked. I don't even feel the need to go into it deeply because it's so obvious to me. And in the end, all it comes down to is, can they suffer? Do they have their own personalities? Do they have likes and dislikes? Do they need more than they do in the factory farms? Should they be killed? I mean, I can answer those questions, and I know that not hurting these animals is the right thing to do. So I think that if we just go over it again, 1, intelligence shouldn't be a reason to exploit, torture or kill someone. 2, chickens are not stupid, okay? And they deserve love and compassion. There's one last point from Mark, the ever questioning Mark, who thinks things through so carefully. He says it would make it more sense to make it so people in poor countries could afford to eat chicken. A hairdresser in Kenya makes 1,500 shillings in a week, and a chicken there costs 500 shillings. Kenchick is the largest producer of chickens in Kenya. So Mark maybe does have some knowledge. He knows this company, Kenchick, which I did not. So I suppose we can go along. I don't know whether those are correct, the amount a hairdresser makes and the amount of chicken costs. But let's assume it's correct for the purpose of this video. The idea of making chickens cheaper to buy so that people could afford to eat them is absolute nonsense. As far as here in the countries that we live in and that you're probably watching this from, so Australia, America, UK, Canada, New Zealand, all of those kind of countries, chickens have been made cheaper and cheaper and cheaper through their breeding over the years. You've met our chickens rescued from the meat industry, and they grow so fast. All they want to do is eat, and it's a real battle to try and give them the life they deserve after rescue. The price of a life in this country is something around $8, $9 in the supermarket for a plastic wrapped flesh, the whole body of a dead chicken. And I find that to be terribly sad. Now let's say it is true that in Kenya that chickens are very, very expensive to buy. I don't know whether that is true. I would say whilst there could be many, many challenges in Kenya that would make it hard for people to eat, I don't think that adding cheaper chicken to their diet is going to help anyone. Plant-based food, and I'm not talking about the very expensive packaged items, but your potatoes and beans and rice and things like that, is so much cheaper, so much healthier, and so much better for the environment. Not to mention the fact that it doesn't involve killing and torturing animals. So the idea that we should be focusing on that is ridiculous. And I realised then when I read that Mark was just clutching at straws as to how he could minimise what the work we're trying to do. It's also harking back to the idea that why are you focusing on saving these animals when there's people suffering in the world or people who need more money and things like that. And I will just remind you what I said in my other video where I went over, what was his name? But I can't remember his name. We went over the other man's comments. What is happening to animals in Australia and around the world is an emergency. This isn't some silly little project. This is about life and death, literally. This is about the worst kind of suffering that you can imagine, both mental and physical, and the most torturous, prolonged deaths. Animals are not ours to use. It doesn't take away from us caring about other issues. If we want, we can work hard for those issues as well while still not exploiting animals. I just find it really upsetting that people minimise the work so much, and all we want to do is make a kinder world. And it has to be done. It has to be done now. We can't keep waiting around for when there's no other issues in the world. This is important. This is so important. And there's a chance for us to rescue so many more individuals. So I hope this video has cleared up a little bit about why I believe it's so important that we rescue individuals, even if we can't rescue as many as we'd like. And also a bit about why you shouldn't have to be the smartest in the world to be deserving of kindness and compassion, but that chickens are actually pretty smart. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will be back and see you tomorrow.